The story of the 1975 Lincoln 1 cent begins with a coin that most Americans barely noticed, yet one that quietly carried forward more than 6 decades of tradition, innovation, and national identity. The Lincoln cent, first introduced in 1909 to honor the 100th anniversary of Abraham Lincoln's birth, had already become one of the most recognizable coins in the world. By 1975, it was no longer just a coin. It was a symbol of everyday American life, passing from hand to hand in grocery stores, gas stations, school cafeterias, and corner shops across the country. In 1975, the United States was emerging from a turbulent period. The early 1970s had brought economic uncertainty, rising inflation, the aftermath of the Vietnam War, and the Watergate scandal, which had led to President Richard Nixon's resignation in 1974. Gerald Ford was now president, and the nation was trying to regain confidence and stability. Against this backdrop, the Lincoln cent continued to be struck in enormous numbers, reflecting both the growing population and the impact of inflation, which required more coins for daily transactions. The design of the 1975 Lincoln cent remained faithful to Victor David Brenner's classic portrait of Abraham Lincoln on the obverse. The profile of Lincoln facing right had first appeared in 1909 and had survived World Wars, depressions, and social change. Brenner's initials VDB, once controversial for their size on the 1909 issue, had long since been modestly restored to the shoulder of Lincoln's bust. The obverse carried the inscriptions, "In God We Trust" above Lincoln's head, "Liberty" to the left, and the date, 1975, to the right, along with the mint mark when present. On the reverse, the familiar Lincoln Memorial design introduced in 1959 was still in use. Designed by Frank Gasparo, the memorial replaced the earlier wheat ears reverse and marked the 150th anniversary of Lincoln's birth. The image of the memorial was detailed enough that with magnification, one could see a tiny statue of Lincoln inside the structure. Above the memorial appeared the inscription, "United States of America," with "E pluribus unum" just above the building and 1 cent below it. This reverse would remain until 2008, making the 1975 cent part of a long-running and historically significant design era. The 1975 Lincoln cent was struck at 3 mints. Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco coins from Philadelphia carried no mint mark, as was standard at the time. Denver coins bore a small D mint mark, while San Francisco produced both proof coins for collectors and a limited number of business strikes. Though in 1975, San Francisco primarily focused on proof coinage. The absence of a mint mark on Philadelphia cents sometimes confuses new collectors, but for 1975, it is entirely normal. The composition of the 1975 cent was primarily copper, specifically 95% copper and 5% zinc. This bronze alloy had been used for most Lincoln cents except for special wartime issues such as the 1943 steel cent. Because copper prices were rising during the 1970s, the intrinsic metal value of cents would become a topic of concern. In later years, eventually leading to the composition change in 1982, but in 1975, the traditional bronze composition remained intact. Each coin weighed 3.11 grams and measured 19 millimeters in diameter with a plain edge. Mintage numbers for the 1975 Lincoln cent were substantial, reflecting the heavy demand for small change during an inflationary period. Philadelphia produced hundreds of millions of coins, while Denver also struck a large quantity. The high mintage means that most 1975 cents are common in circulated grades. Millions were used extensively in daily commerce, resulting in wear that softened Lincoln's hair details and the steps of the memorial on the reverse. Despite their common status, circulated 1975 cents hold nostalgic and historical value. For many Americans, these coins were part of childhood allowances, arcade machines, and school lunch purchases. The mid-1970s also saw the approach of the United States bicentennial in 1976, and patriotic interest in coin collecting increased during this time. While the cent itself did not receive a special bicentennial design, collectors were becoming more attentive to mint marks, varieties, and condition. In terms of varieties, the 1975 Lincoln cent does not have major widely recognized dramatic errors like the famous 1955 doubled die. However, minor doubled dies and small minting anomalies do exist as, with almost every large mintage year, collectors search for well-struck examples with strong details, especially on Lincoln's beard bow tie, and the steps of the memorial high-grade, uncirculated examples with original red luster are more desirable than worn brown circulated pieces. Proof versions of the 1975 Lincoln cent were struck at the San Francisco Mint and carry the S Mint mark. These proof coins were specially made for collectors using polished dies and planchets, resulting in mirror-like fields and frosted devices. They were included in annual proof sets sold directly to collectors. The contrast between the brilliant background and the sharp portrait of Lincoln gives proof cents a distinctive appearance that differs significantly from business strikes. The 1975 cent also belongs to a broader historical arc of the Lincoln Memorial Series, which ran from 1959 to 2008. This long-running design witnessed enormous social and technological change. From the civil rights movement to the moon landing, from the Cold War to the dawn of the computer age, the Lincoln Memorial Reverse was present in American pockets. The 1975 issue represents a midpoint in that long journey situated between the original 1959 release and the eventual bicentennial redesigns of 2009. Economically, the mid-1970s were marked by rising prices, which meant that the purchasing power of a single cent was already minimal. By 1975, 1 cent could buy very little on its own, yet it remained essential for exact pricing and cash transactions. The continued production of hundreds of millions of cents demonstrates how deeply ingrained the denomination was in the American monetary system. Collectors today often encounter 1975 Lincoln cents in Rolls jars and inherited collections. Because they are common, they are affordable entry points for beginners. However, condition is everything. A fully read, uncirculated example graded at the highest mint state levels can command a premium compared to a heavily worn brown coin. This focus on preservation and grade illustrates how even common coins can become valuable when they survive in exceptional condition. The artistry of Brenner's portrait continues to draw admiration. Lincoln's thoughtful expression and dignified profile give the smallest denomination coin a sense of importance. Few countries place a historical figure of such stature on their lowest value coin. Yet the United States chose Lincoln, reflecting his enduring legacy as the preserver of the Union and a symbol of equality. When examining a 1975 Lincoln cent closely, one can appreciate the fine details of the design. The texture of Lincoln's coat, the strands of hair above his ear, and the architectural lines of the memorial reveal the craftsmanship involved in coin production. Even though the cent was mass-produced, each piece began as a carefully engraved design translated into steel, dies, and then struck under tremendous pressure. Over time, many 1975 cents toned from bright red to shades of brown due to oxidation of the copper alloy, environmental exposure, storage conditions, and handling all affect color and surface preservation. Collectors classify copper cents by color. Designation red, red-brown, and brown, with red examples typically being the most desirable. The 1975 Lincoln cent also connects to broader themes in American numismatics, including debates about the future of the penny. Rising metal costs and production expenses have periodically led to discussions about eliminating the cent altogether. Yet coins like the 1975 issue remind collectors of the denomination's deep roots in American history, stretching back to the large cents of the late 18th century. As part of this exploration, one can delve into the life of Victor David Brenner, The immigrant sculptor whose portrait of Lincoln became one of the longest-running designs in United States, coinage Brenner's artistic training in Europe, and his admiration for Lincoln shaped a design that would endure for generations. Similarly, one can explore Frank Gasparo's role as chief engraver of the United States Mint and his contribution to the memorial reverse. Another dimension of the 1975 cent story involves the technology of minting. During the 1970s, the Mint used high-speed presses capable of striking hundreds of coins per minute. Quality control had to balance efficiency with precision, resulting in occasional minor errors such as off-center strikes, clipped planchets, and die cracks. These mint errors create a specialized collecting niche where even a common date like 1975 can become exciting. The cultural atmosphere of 1975. America also adds richness to the narrative. Popular music, films, and television of the era formed the soundtrack of daily life, while the cent quietly circulated among the public. A single 1975 penny might have passed through countless hands, accumulating small scratches and stories along the way. In educational settings, the Lincoln cent has often been used to teach children about history, economics, and saving money. The year 1975 may mark the birth year of many individuals who later became collectors, giving the coin personal significance beyond its face value. From a market perspective, most circulated 1975 Lincoln cents are worth only face value. However, uncirculated rolls preserved since the year of issue can carry modest premiums, and superb gem examples, certified by grading services, may achieve higher prices. The proof, 1975 cent, especially in deep cameo condition, is favored by collectors assembling high-quality proof sets. In the grand timeline of American coinage, the 1975 Lincoln cent might appear ordinary, yet its ordinariness is precisely its significance. It represents continuity, stability, and the everyday function of money in a complex modern society. While silver coins had largely disappeared from circulation by the mid-1960s, the bronze cent remained a tangible link to earlier eras. The coin's endurance also reflects Lincoln's enduring relevance. More than a century after his presidency, Lincoln's image continued to inspire trust and respect, appearing billions of times on coins like the 1975 cent. Each piece served as a small metallic tribute to his leadership during the Civil War and his vision for unity. As we reflect on the 1975 Lincoln 1 cent, we see more than copper and zinc. We see a snapshot of America in transition, a nation balancing tradition and change, a society moving toward its bicentennial, while navigating economic challenges. The coin may be small, but its history is expansive, touching art, politics, economics, and culture. For a YouTube documentary stretching into hours, the 1975 Lincoln cent offers countless avenues of exploration, from minting processes and design analysis to historical context and collector insights. It stands as a reminder that even the most common coin can tell an extraordinary story when viewed through the lens of history, craftsmanship, and national identity.